We got some breaking news for you guys as the New York Jets are officially moving off Aaron Rodgers. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jets Report. My name is Patrick Siepman. So coming up on today's show, we'll give you guys the news around Aaron Rodgers no longer being the New York Jets quarterback, talk about the financial situation, what's next for Davante Adams, and then also some quarterback targets on the tail half of today's show. But it was Ian Rapoport who broke the news early on this morning saying the Jets have officially informed quarterback Aaron Rodgers that they are moving in a different direction. He will be a free agent. Then the big conversation shifted to, will he be a pre-June 1 or will it be a post-June 1 release? Well, Rapoport followed that tweet up saying this will likely be a post-June 1 release, I'm told, to help manage the cap hit. Now, we'll get you guys the exact details on that here in a second. But before we do so, if you guys could help us reach 3,000 subscribers here at the Jets Report, we're in a little bit of a battle to race to 3,000 subs with our Bills Breakdown channel here at Chat Sports. So if you guys want to help us win the AFC East sub battle, hit that subscribe button and help us reach 3,000 subs. All right, let's dive into the financial side of this Aaron Rodgers decision for the New York Jets. So here's the exact numbers for a post-June 1 release, where the dead cap in 2025 will be $14 million. Now, if they decided to make him a pre-June 1 release, this would have been $49 million, but then you take $35 million of that and you shift it to 2026, where you would have a $35 million dead cap hit. But in 2025, they will actually save $9.5 million. So where does that get the Jets cap space after this Aaron Rodgers decision? Well, it bumps it from $20 million all the way up to $29.5 million. So clearly the Jets, maybe they're going to be somewhat aggressive here in free agency, because I do think that's a pretty big decision, since they had the option to completely get rid of all that dead cap in 2025, but they want to push it back to 2026 and have a little more spending for this season. But I do want to share with you guys the statements from Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey here. They said last week we met with Aaron and shared that our intention was to move in a different direction at quarterback. It was important to have this discussion now to provide clarity and enable each of us the proper time to plan for our respective futures. We want to thank him for the leadership, passion, and dedication he brought to the organization and wish him success moving forward. Then also owner Woody Johnson had this to say on Aaron Rodgers no longer being the New York Jets quarterback, saying, "I personally want to thank Aaron for his time at the New York Jets. His arrival in 2023 was met with unbridled excitement, and I will forever be grateful that he chose to join us to continue his Hall of Fame career. From day one, he embodied all that it meant to be a New York Jet, embraced our fans, and immersed himself in our city. That is what I will remember most when I look back at his time here. He will always be welcome, and I wish him only the best in whatever he chooses to do next." But I also want to share with you guys what Dianna Russini had to say a couple days ago about a little behind-the-scenes intel on the New York Jets' decision to move off Aaron Rodgers, where she said this in her latest article, saying the biggest non-Super Bowl development on Sunday was the news that the Aaron Rodgers era is over for the New York Jets. When the Jets had conversations with him about a potential return, I was told that they set some boundaries. He'd have to attend all training camp practices, and this is the big part here. He'd no longer be permitted to do his Pat McAfee Show appearances. More broadly, it makes clear new head coach Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey are putting an emphasis on individual accountability. And that's the part of this that I love the most for the new New York Jets regime, is that they are pretty much putting their foot down and getting rid of the old, and they're bringing in the new in this situation. And, over the last 2 years, the Jets have catered to everything Aaron Rodgers has wanted, and it's been a disaster. So I like the fact that this new regime is putting their foot down a little bit and saying, hey, we are going to change the culture in this organization, which has been terrible over the last couple of years. Got all types of respect for Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey for making this decision. But also a big piece of this will be Davante Adams. Right now he's on the books for $38 million for the next 2 seasons, and just financially, it makes zero sense for the Jets to now keep him on the roster. And also, we were getting reports early on in the week when it was clear that Aaron would be leaving the New York Jets organization, that Davante Adams could seek another home elsewhere, specifically on the West Coast. But let's just say the Jets do decide to move off Davante Adams. I think this will be another post-June 1 release. Now, each team is allowed to designate 2 cuts to post-June 1, so I'm assuming to be Aaron Rodgers and then Davante Adams. but they would get $2 million in dead cap in 2025, another $6 million in the 2026 dead cap, so that's going to be around $41 million next season, and then you are saving $36.25 million. And for people that are concerned about the dead cap, because right now it would be sitting around $46 million or $41 million in 2026, the Minnesota Vikings, who won 14 games this season, had $68 million in dead cap. So there are ways around it, but specifically for 2025, this is where the Jets' cap space stands. If they do decide to move off Rodgers and cut Davante Adams, they would have $65.7 million at play during this year's free agency. So you go from $20 million and you have almost a $45 million increase in free agent spending this offseason. I love the move. I love the direction that this organization is going, but it gets me to this thought. With all that money in free agency, could we see this new Jets regime be aggressive to sign a quarterback in free agency? We know there's guys like Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. We'll talk about all those guys here in a second, but I do want to mention about a possible trade for Kirk Cousins. But before we do so, Jets Nation, let me know your thoughts on this. Do you agree with the decision to cut Aaron Rodgers? Maybe you guys disagree with it. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no if you agree or disagree with the decision to cut Aaron Rodgers from the Jets roster. Now, who could be next? Who could be under center for the New York Jets next season? Let's just dive into a couple of QB targets that I think have a good possibility of becoming the next QB1 for the New York Jets. And I think the most likely option here would probably be Tyrod Taylor. Now, he is on the Jets roster in 2025, and he has a cap hit of $6.8 million, which is not bad for the quarterback position. Tyrod is just a high-end backup at this point in his career, but I could also see the Jets going, hey, Tyrod will run you for the first couple of months of the season. If it doesn't go well, then maybe they go to a guy like Jordan Travis, or maybe they draft like a Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart in day 2 or day 3 of the NFL draft. But also, what about a Kirk Cousins move for the New York Jets here? So if the Jets decide to trade for him, they would be on the books for $27 million. I don't think they would go that direction. But let's just say Kirk kind of takes that Russell Wilson route where the Falcons are paying most of his salary for next year, and then Kirk could sign a 1-year, $2 million deal. And plus, the Jets just hired Rick Spielman, former Vikings GM, who brought in Kirk Cousins, so you have the connection there. I think Kirk, if I had the power rank him, probably Tyrod number 1 and then Kirk Cousins number 2 as terms of who is going to be likely to be QB1 for the New York Jets. But let's just say they want to spend big. Let's go over 3 free agent targets for the New York Jets. And number 1, I think this is unlikely, but we got to talk about it. The biggest name in the free agent quarterback market right now, and that's actually Sam Darnold. Now, would Sam Darnold want to return to the New York Jets? I doubt it. Would the Jets want to bring Sam Darnold in? I don't know, because Darnold had a very, very good season for the Minnesota Vikings. Won 14 games, only lost to 2 teams the entire past NFL season. He threw for 35 touchdowns, 12 picks, had over 4,300 yards. He was awesome during the first 16 games of the season, but during the last 2 games, this is when Darnold started seeing ghost again. He only completed 53% of his passes, just over 400 yards in 2 games, and he had 1 touchdown and 1 pick. In both these games, one being the Lions game in Detroit, that was for the number 1 seed in the entire NFC, he collapsed. And then in the playoff game versus the Rams, he collapsed as well. So you got questions still on if Darnold is a big play quarterback and a big game quarterback, but I still think the Jets will at least be considering bringing in Sam Darnold. But what about Justin Fields? And this could be an option where you're kind of saying, hey, we're going to take a low-risk, high-reward scenario here with Fields, because you could probably sign him to a 1-year, $10 million contract, and he could be that bridge guy for potentially a young QB. And if you start looking at these other quarterbacks in the NFL who fizzled out with the original organizations, like the Baker Mayfields, like the Sam Darnolds, like the Geno Smiths, I wonder if the Jets could be looking at Justin Fields as that next guy who wasn't successful with the original team that drafted him, but then had a resurgence in the second half of his career. So if I had to choose between Justin Fields on an $11 million deal or Sam Darnold on 40, if I was the New York Jets, I'd probably lean towards the Justin Fields route. You got still a high upside with them. Obviously, the floor is nowhere near where Sam Darnold's floor would be, but still, I think there's a chance that Fields could get signed by the New York Jets. And how about the other guy in Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson? Now, Russell will get, obviously, a better contract than Fields. Some are throwing out there that he could get 2 for $70, about $35 million per year. And he had a pretty good year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, was pushing the ball down the field, which, as we know, Russell Wilson loves to do. And when you have that deep play threat with a guy like Garrett Wilson, I'm sure Garrett Wilson would prefer to have Russell Wilson over a guy like Fields being the next quarterback, but I don't know if the Jets are going to want to pay, $35 million per year for a guy like Russ, but also I could see it being a possibility. But my early prediction for the next Jets quarterback, I think it's going to be Tyrod Taylor. I'm a big fan of Tyrod, and also this would leave the door open to you just drafting a quarterback on day 2 or day 3, have them work behind the scenes, and maybe midway or at the tail half of next season, they end up being the starter for the New York Jets. But I'll ask you guys this. Let me know your thoughts down below. Who will be QB1 for the Jets next season? Drop that name down below in the comment section. Curious to see what you guys have to say. Also, friendly reminder to hit that subscribe button. Help us reach 3,000 subs here at the Jets Report. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, go Jets.